I am building a sponsored, VEILSIDE affiliated 3-rotor drift car. Like, this is,
This is how it starts. A candle in the dark, on and on and on. This is how it starts. Gentle pull on your heart. Find out what you are. This time feels different. It's not a war. Don't let down your guard. It's you against your. This won't be a scar. A faint raised watermark to remind you who you are. This time feels different.
You get it? Yeah, I'm going on Drift Week 6. It's good to be back. For 7 years now, I have primarily edited on something called Adobe Premiere. If you are a videographer, you know where this is going probably, as a vein appears in my forehead. In that time, at least 7 years has been taken off of my life expectancy from crashes, updates. But in every hero's journey, the hero must accept the call to do something different. And for me, that something different is now DaVinci Resolve. And I've met people running $1 million sets that have used it. My roommate uses it, so it seems to cover the gamut. And everyone that I've met that uses it says they wish they switched sooner. So this video, outside of being a huge announcement, is ultimately a test for me to see if I can learn a new software, because I am an 80-year-old man in disguise, and I have the neuroplasticity of carbon fiber.
Drift Week 6?
I got accepted to Drift Week 6? Alright. I'm sweating through my shirt. Alright, if you're a car person, if you're a drifting person, if you are none of those things but you just liked the series about the road trip that I made last year, Drift Week is like that road trip turned up to 1,000. A high-level explanation of what Drift Week is a 2-week race car road trip specifically made for drifting. But the catch, and what gives it its cool factor for me, is that you are not allowed to bring a truck and trailer. You're not allowed to bring a support vehicle. Whatever car you decide is the car that you will drive 500 plus laps in on all the racetracks around the US is also the car you must drive around the US to get to the racetracks. And you are allowed one co-driver, whatever tools you can fit in your car, and whatever spare parts you can fit in your car. Now, Drift HQ does have parts in a parts truck that you can buy from if you need stuff for like a 350Z, but they're not gonna have anything for the car I'm bringing, because you might be asking yourself, Coy, if this is a trip that is completely private, has some of the best drivers in the world, and the biggest media personalities in the sport of drifting, how the fuck did you get in? 2 words, my friend. Comedic relief. In all seriousness, I have one mutual friend with the organizers. I reached out to ask if I could go on the next one, saying that if I got accepted to the next Drift Week, whenever that was, I would bring the car I've been waiting 18 years for someone else to build that I've just decided to do myself. A rotary-powered VEILSIDE Fortune RX7. More specifically, a 3-rotor powered VEILSIDE Fortune RX7 drift car. Now, I hinted to all this at the end of a previous video, but the backstory basically boils down to this. Ever since I found out 3 and 4 rotor engines existed, I have wanted to put one in a VEILSIDE, and I think that was 8 years ago when I found Rob Dom's first video of like driving his 3-rotor. Now, I'd sort of forgotten about that because obviously it is stupidly expensive to do. So I'd like pushed it out to the recesses of my mind because the plan was also to build that car when I could reasonably afford to in a responsible manner. Well, clearly that day came super early, and who am I kidding? I am sending myself to financial oblivion for this fucking car. And why? What triggered this substantial pivot in life strategy? When TJ Hunt posted that he was building a VEILSIDE RX7, I had purchased the red FD donor car about a month prior and assumed I'd sit on it for maybe a year or so. Then TJ Hunt posted his first video announcing that he was building a VEILSIDE, and I couldn't stomach the fact that he was going to drive the car on YouTube before I did. So naturally, I just basically lit my whole life on fire trying to build this thing as fast as possible. It seems like if everything goes to plan, which we all know everything in cars always goes to plan, I will just be able to finish it up, minus interior or insurance, by about the time I run out of funds to build it. So Patreon question mark? Now, one of the most exciting things that's happened since getting accepted to Drift Week, which actually happened a couple months ago, is VEILSIDE is sponsoring the car. I am building a sponsored VEILSIDE affiliated 3-rotor drift car. Like, this is, I've also developed a relationship with a local fabrication company that does just insanely beautiful work on a lot of Subaru stuff, so they'll help bring back the STI in time. Because of course, like, all this industry has very small margins in the first place, so these aren't like I'm getting paid sponsorships. They're just like they'll help out with me not having to completely lose my ass before this car even turns over for the first time. So like realistically, I do have a little bit of buffer, but not as much as an accountant or friend would probably like to see me have going into 2023. So I am trying to get a bit creative with ways to make sure that this car is sufficiently funded and that I can eat next year, which includes maybe giving away this LS swapped FD RX7 built by a friend of mine down in Birmingham that I took to Rotary 7's 8 just to be a dick. Just kidding. It's because the other one wasn't running yet. This was sort of like an odd car for this guy to build. His name's Joe, and he builds the craziest resto mods you have ever seen. Take your pick of a legendary American muscle car. Imagine the best resto mod version of it that your brain can put together, and then, you know, make it 3 times better. And then that's what he builds during the day. Now, I got this LS car, and I was planning to sort of fix some stuff up, make some videos and sell it, but with the market, like the whole market, the economy at large, sort of doing what it's done, I felt like that was not going to be a worthwhile investment. And then I started to think about it, and this car ultimately is a ground-up rebuild. So, like, all the documentation on it in terms of Carfax is messy. Like, there was 7 owners before Joe got his hands on it. He rebuilt it from nothing. And so even though this is like a fully remanufactured vehicle, the Carfax will always say that it was 7 owners, and it will always say that the odometer was exempt and replaced, even though literally none of the stock drivetrain is in the car. It's a full Sicky swap kit. It has a T56 in it and an actual aluminum block LS1 out of a 2004 GTO. All the hard stuff's been done, so I get to do all the easy stuff that's very satisfying, like putting in a little plastic triangle. And then I thought, like, well, LS cars are going to divide people, but if you want a car in a giveaway, then you have a great no-rust donor chassis to revert if you want to rotary, which is a little easier to justify if you can sell the whole swap kit. I don't know. Giveaway just seemed like a really logical thing to do, and so I've luckily found an agency that handles all that stuff, because the first thing I heard about doing car giveaways is don't. I've heard infinite horror stories about Instagram waffles and people doing it on the DL and then losing their ass or having their ass handed to them in court. But it should be cool. I have a lot of ideas for merch that will actually be useful Like when I launch this giveaway, it's not going to be a bunch of $50 mugs and sticker packs. I'm sorry if you know who I'm calling out. I don't mean to. I really love that channel, but god damn it, I'm not going to pay $50 for a mug. I don't care what car I can win. And one of the products is actually from a brand that Ducky's going to be launching next month. I'm stoked for him, and I'm going to try and do what I can to help promote the brand on my channel. And I know he wants to help me out with finishing the VEILSIDE because he's also my co-driver on Drift Week. Which could be interesting, because I don't know if we'll survive next to each other for 2 weeks in a RX7. We did it for 1 week in an STI, and we got like 90% of the way through before it was just, we'll see what happens. Drift Week starts November 7th and ends the 22nd, which means really I have 3 months to... I have 3 months to build and test a VEILSIDE RX7 that currently looks like this. If this is a project that you're in a position to contribute to and it's a childhood dream that you've been waiting for someone to do as well, I'll put my Patreon here. It's set up like a donation page right now, so whatever you feel comfortable with contributing to this project is appreciated greatly and will be put to good use. Now, I have a new editing software to learn because there's another elephant in the room, being that before I get on track with Chelsea Denofa, Matt Field, Adam LZ, James Dean, take your pick of driver on this trip, I have a lot of progress to make as a driver. And that journey's actually already started. I've been to a few drift events this month. I have a bunch lined up next month and the month after that. So the next video you see will be Ready, Set, Drift at Pocono Raceway, which was the first one I did this summer. Trying to get back in the saddle and see if I still know how to make a car go sideways. What could possibly go wrong? Now, if you're watching this video because you like rotary powered stuff, I highly recommend the series that I did last year with my friend Adam, which was basically a top year special of taking a barn find RX-7 from the desert in Arizona back to New York and seeing if it survived the drive. And since YouTube knows you a lot better than I do, you should probably check out this video too.